Latina alien girl smiled when I said her butt was nice, until her dad found out. The thought wasn't even meant for public consumption. A stray piece of mental debris muttered into the closed circuit of my helmet's comms as I cataloged scrap metal on the volcanic ass end of nowhere. Now that, I'd whispered to myself, watching the tall, orange-skinned woman stride across the obsidian plaza, her long black hair a slash of ink against the lava glow, is a 5-star grade A galactic class ass. A moment of private dumbass appreciation. Except it wasn't private. A tremor ran through the ground, not from the planet's grumbling core, but from the synchronized stomp of armored feet. Before I could even cycle the airlock on my helmet, 2 massive guards flanked me. Their skin was the same vibrant sunset orange as hers, their faces set in grim masks of ritual severity. One of them, a brute with shoulders wider than my escape pod's hatch, pointed a vibrating energy pike at my throat. A voice amplified and guttural boomed from his helmet. "You have issued the claim of flesh before the High Lord's court. Your challenge is heard." I blinked. My what? I just said she had a nice... The pike jabbed closer, its energy field making the air hum and my teeth ache. The declaration is made, the trial is accepted. My helmet was ripped from my head, the sulfur-choked air searing my lungs. I gasped, choking on the acrid atmosphere as they dragged me by the arms, my worn scavenger boots scraping uselessly against the polished black stone. I got one last look at the girl. She'd turned, her golden eyes wide, a flicker of something unreadable. Shock, maybe even a sliver of dark amusement crossing her face before her expression hardened into the same stony mask as her guards. She was royalty, I was scrap. And I'd just accidentally whistled at the princess in the most fucked up way imaginable. They hauled me toward a towering structure of basalt and flickering energy shields, a palace carved from the planet's fiery heart. My brain was still trying to reboot, stuck on a loop of what the absolute fuck. Claim of flesh? Trial? I was a scavenger, a smartass who survived by picking the bones of forgotten battlefields, not by issuing medieval challenges on magma-drenched moons. I didn't challenge people, I avoided them, especially the ones with terrifyingly large bodyguards. This was a mistake, a colossal, galaxy-spanning, pants-shittingly bad mistake. And as they shoved me through an archway that shimmered with contained heat, the echoing boom of a colossal gong sealing my fate, I knew with sickening certainty that my smart mouth had finally written a check my ass couldn't cash. The girl was nowhere to be seen. Just me. My rapidly dwindling hopes and the suffocating smell of brimstone and bad decisions. The cell they threw me in wasn't a cell. It was a gilded cage, a chamber of polished obsidian walls and floors so glossy they reflected the nervous sweat on my face. A low stone bench was the only furniture. No door, just a shimmering, impenetrable energy field. I paced the length of it 3 times, knuckles white, mind racing. Escape was a non-starter. The field buzzed with lethal intent every time I got within 5 feet. My gear was gone. My blaster, my multi-tool, even the emergency ration bar in my pocket. I was well and truly fucked. The energy field flickered, and she stepped through, the barrier sealing behind her instantly. It was her, the girl. Up close, she was even more intimidating. Taller than me by half a head, with toned, powerful limbs and skin that seemed to drink the ambient lava glow. Her golden eyes, flecked with copper, pinned me to the spot. She wore a simple, sleeveless tunic of dark, tough fabric that did very little to hide the warrior's physique beneath. Or, for that matter, the asset I'd so eloquently admired. "You are the off-worlder," she stated. It wasn't a question. Her voice was a low, melodic contralto, but sharp as a shard of volcanic glass. "Jax," I said, forcing a casual lean against the wall I didn't feel. "And you are?" Her lips, a shade darker than her skin, thinned. "I am Zilia, first daughter of the Cinderlord Kalen, and you are the fool who publicly challenged my virtue." "Whoa, hold on. Virtue?" I held up my hands. "Look, where I come from, saying someone has an aesthetically pleasing posterior is a compliment. A crude one, maybe, but a compliment." Zilia tilted her head, a slow, predatory movement. "You invoked the right of claiming. You publicly announced your intent to possess my flesh. I did not. Your words were, a galactic class ass. The meaning is unequivocal. You desire my core, the seat of my strength and fertility. You have challenged my father's dominion over my future. I stared at her, my sarcasm failing me for a solid 10 seconds. You're shitting me. We do not shit you, she said, her brow furrowing in confusion at the term. My father, the Cinder Lord, has decreed it. Your claim must be tested. We will face the trial of Cinder. Together. Together? Why together? Because your claim was on me. My honor is now entangled with your pathetic life. The trial will prove your worth, or it will purify my line by consuming us both in righteous fire. The casual way she said, consuming us both, sent a fresh chill down my spine that had nothing to do with the cool obsidian floor. So if I lose, I die. If we lose, we die, she corrected, her golden eyes burning with an intensity that was both terrifying and magnetic. My father does not expect us to succeed. He expects the trial to execute you and cleanse me. He is a traditionalist. Sounds like a real charmer, I muttered. But I'm not doing it. This is a misunderstanding. Tell him I rescind my galactic ass claim or whatever. Zelia laughed, a short, sharp, humorless sound. A claim, once issued before the court, can only be rescinded by death. Your only path now is forward, through the trial. She took a step closer, invading my space. I could feel the heat radiating from her skin. So, Jax the Offworlder, you wanted me? You will have to prove you can survive me first. We were left in that chamber for hours, or days. Time got weird in the constant dim glow of the energy field. Zelia stood on one side of the room, meditating in a rigid, upright stance. I spent my time pacing, prodding the walls, and generally trying to project an aura of someone who was not slowly losing his goddamn mind. Finally, I couldn't take the silence anymore. So what's the first part of this trial of Cinder? A hot rock juggling contest? A synchronized screaming competition? She opened one golden eye. It is a test of unity and endurance. We will be tethered by a bond of light and made to cross the ashen bridge. Sounds delightful. And if we fall, the magma vents below will offer a quick finality. Right, quick, great. I slumped down on the bench, running a hand through my grimy hair. Look, this is insane. There's got to be a way out of this. There is not. Her voice was flat, final. You are a scavenger, yes? Your kind picks through the debris of the past. Think of this as a salvage operation. For your own life. I'm trying to salvage my own ass here, princess. I shot back, frustration making me reckless. Her eyes snapped to mine, and then, to my complete surprise, they flickered down to my jeans. A slow, calculating look. She crossed the room in 3 fluid strides, stopping directly in front of me. She knelt, her proximity making the air crackle. Before I could react, she reached out and laid her hand flat against my ass. Her touch was firm, warm, and utterly bewildering. This flesh? She asked, her voice a low murmur. You offered it as part of your claim. It is a portion of the stake. Promise of your physical submission should I prove dominant in the trial. My brain short-circuited. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. Her thumb traced a line along the seam of my pants, sending a jolt straight to my groin. Is it as resilient as your mouth? I finally found my voice, though it came out strangled. What are you doing? Assessing the collateral, she replied, her gaze lifting to meet mine. There was no malice in it, just a terrifyingly direct, almost scientific curiosity. And something else. A flicker of heat that had nothing to do with the planet's core. She was dominant, powerful, and in her culture I had just handed her a formal invitation to prove it. The confidence, the sheer audacity of it, was infuriatingly hot. I swatted her hand away, scrambling back on the bench. Hands off the collateral, lady. It's not for sale, or for trial. A small, almost imperceptible smile touched her lips. Everything is for trial now, Jax. She stood up, turning her back to me. The first stage will demand perfect synchronization. Your scavenging likely taught you to move alone, to trust only yourself. That will kill us. You will follow my lead, you will match my pace, and you will not speak unless necessary. Your casual pronouncements have caused enough trouble. The energy field outside the chamber sizzled and died. 2 guards appeared in the doorway, their expressions grim. Zelia gave me one last look over her shoulder. Let us see if your body can keep the promises your mouth makes. The arena was a nightmare symphony of fire and shadow. A vast, open-air cavern with a ceiling so high it was lost in smoke and darkness. The ground was a treacherous mosaic of jagged obsidian and glowing fissures that pulsed with orange light from the magma rivers flowing deep below. A crowd of Zelia's people clad in dark, solemn robes filled tiered galleries carved into the cavern walls. Their silence was more unnerving than any roar. On a high dais of blood-red stone sat a massive figure, her father, the Cinder Lord Kalen. His face was a mask of granite disapproval, his golden eyes burning with cold fury even from 100 yards away. Zelia and I were led to the edge of a chasm. Spanning it was the Ashen Bridge, a narrow, winding ribbon of rock that looked about as stable as a politician's promise. It was maybe 3 feet wide, with no handrails. Below, magma bubbled and spat, casting a hellish glow on the underside of the bridge. One of the guards clamped a heavy manacle around my left wrist. The other clamped a matching one on Zelia's right. A shimmering cord of white-hot energy erupted between them, tethering us together with about 4 feet of slack. The energy leash hummed, a constant physical reminder of our shared fate. The bond is forged, a robed priest intoned from somewhere above. Their steps are now one. Their fate is now one. Let the cinders judge them. Zelia glanced at me, her expression unreadable. Stay close. When I move, you move. No hesitation. Wouldn't dream of it, I muttered, my eyes fixed on the plume of superheated gas that just shot up from a fissure near the bridge's entrance. She took the first step onto the bridge, and the tether yanked me forward with her. The rock was slick with condensation and unnervingly warm under the soles of my boots. We moved slowly at first, a clumsy, lurching shuffle. My scavenger instinct screamed at me to watch my own footing, to find my own path, but the tether forced a different kind of logic. I had to watch her. I had to anticipate her every shift in weight, every step. A few yards in, she paused, her body tense. Geyser, she hissed. Left side. 3, 2. On 1, she lunged right, and I instinctively mirrored her movement, pulling the tether taut. A blast of scalding steam erupted exactly where we'd been standing. So close I felt the heat singe my jacket. We didn't stop. We couldn't. The bridge snaked onward, a gauntlet of crumbling edges and unpredictable steam vents. My initial clumsiness gave way to a strange rhythm. I started to feel the pull on the tether an instant before she moved, my body reacting almost without thought. Her warrior's grace and my scavenger's knack for predicting unstable terrain began to mesh. She'd spot the larger structural threats. I'd see the subtle shift in color that meant a rock was about to give way. Left foot, weak point, I grunted, seeing a network of hairline cracks. She adjusted without question, shifting her weight to the right. We were working together. Not as friends, not even as allies, but as 2 parts of a single, desperate survival machine. The crowd remained silent, their collective gaze a physical weight. Her father hadn't moved a muscle. He was waiting. Waiting for the slip, the misstep, the final fiery plunge. We made it across the Ashen Bridge, stumbling onto the solid platform on the other side with burning lungs and trembling legs. The energy tether dissolved, freeing our wrists. For a moment, we just stood there, breathing heavily, the adrenaline leaving a metallic taste in my mouth. We were covered in a fine layer of gray ash and sweat. A burn marred Zelia's shoulder where a fleck of molten rock had landed. Without thinking, I reached out, my fingers brushing the angry red mark on her orange skin. She flinched but didn't pull away. Her golden eyes met mine, wide and startled. The warrior's mask was gone, replaced by a raw vulnerability that hit me harder than any geyser blast. You are surprisingly competent, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. For a fool. You're not so bad yourself, I replied, my voice hoarse. For a princess who wants me dead. A faint smile touched her lips. I do not want you dead, Jax. I want to survive. If you are the means to that, so be it. A side passage, previously hidden, opened in the cavern wall. A guard gestured for us to enter. It led to a small, dark cave, barely large enough for 2 people. A skin of water and a hunk of something that looked like smoked meat sat on a rock. Our reward for not dying yet. The guards sealed the entrance with a slab of stone, plunging us into near-total darkness, save for the faint residual glow from the distant magma. We were trapped again, together. The adrenaline of the trial gave way to a thick, suffocating tension. We were too close. I could smell the ozone scent of her skin, the faint coppery smell of blood from a cut on her cheek. I could hear the soft sound of her breathing. I took the water skin, took a long swallow and passed it to her. Our fingers brushed. A spark, a tiny jolt of static electricity passed between us. We both pulled back as if burned. "The next stage," she said, her voice strained in the dark. "What is it?" She was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her tone was heavy with a kind of dread I hadn't heard before. "It is the chamber of resonance, a sacred place, the core of the trial." Resonance? What does that mean? I could barely make out her silhouette as she sat down, her back against the far wall. The chamber is filled with ancient Kalian crystals. They respond to life, to harmony. An intruder, an off-worlder like you, would cause them to scream, a sound that can boil the blood in your veins. So we walk in, and I make the pretty rocks mad, and we die. Fantastic plan. Your dad's a real genius. That is what he believes will happen, she said softly. But there is one way to soothe the crystals, to prove to the ancient spirits of this world that your presence is not a violation. I waited, a cold knot forming in my stomach. I knew somehow that I wasn't going to like the answer. The trial demands a demonstration of biological union, the merging of two life forces into one, creating a singular, resonant frequency. It is the origin of the claiming right. The silence stretched. I processed her carefully chosen, ritualistic words. Biological union. Merging. My blood ran cold. "You're telling me we have to? We must mate, Jax," she said, the words stark and brutal in the darkness. "There, in the chamber. It is the only way to silence the crystals. It is the only way we survive." The stone door scraped open, revealing not guards, but a glowing tunnel that hummed with a low, resonant frequency. The air grew warmer, vibrating with a power that made the fillings in my teeth ache. Zelaya stood, her face a pale, determined mask in the ethereal light. She didn't look at me. "It is time," she said, and walked into the tunnel. What choice did I have? I followed her, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. The tunnel opened into a vast crystalline cavern, the chamber of resonance. The entire place was alive with light. Thousands of crystals, from tiny shards to pillars the size of trees, grew from the floor and ceiling, pulsing with a soft inner luminescence. But the moment I stepped inside, the serene hum escalated into a piercing high-pitched shriek. The light from the crystals flared, turning harsh and white. The sound was physical. It vibrated in my bones, my skull, a razor blade scraping against my nervous system. I staggered, clutching my head. "Fuck, make it stop!" Celia winced, her body tensed against the sonic assault, but she seemed less affected than I was. "They sense you. Your foreign biology, it is dissonance," she yelled over the din. "We have to achieve harmony now." She came toward me, her movements stiff. The sound was getting worse, a nauseating, escalating whine that promised annihilation. My vision started to swim. This was it. This was how I died. Skewered by sound waves because I thought some alien princess had a nice ass. "I can't," I gasped, sinking to my knees. "There's no way." "There is only one way," she screamed, grabbing the front of my jacket and hauling me to my feet. Her golden eyes were wild, desperate. "Fight me, or join me, but we do this now." It started as a fight. I shoved her away, a panicked, cornered animal reaction. "This is insane. I'm not part of your fucked up death ritual." She came at me again, her strength astonishing. She wasn't trying to hurt me, but to control me, to pin me. We grappled, stumbling across the crystal floor, our bodies slamming together. The shriek of the crystals intensified with every discordant movement. Her hands were in my hair, on my neck. Mine were on her waist, her arms trying to break her hold. It was a desperate, ugly struggle for survival. But under the panic, something else was happening. The press of her body against mine, the heat of her skin, the scent of her. It was cutting through the noise. My hand slid from her arms to her back, pulling her closer instead of pushing her away. Her grip in my hair loosened, her fingers tangling in the strands. The fight bled into a frantic, desperate embrace. "Jax," she gasped, her lips close to my ear, her breath hot. The sound of my name spoken in her voice did something to me. Surrender. The fight wasn't against her, it was against the screeching death surrounding us, and she was the only way through it. I crushed my mouth to hers. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was a collision, a raw, angry claiming that mirrored the chaos in the room. She responded with equal fire, her nails digging into my shoulders. We tore at each other's clothes, a frantic tangle of limbs and fabric on the glowing crystalline floor. There was no seduction, no tenderness. It was pure, primal urgency. Her body was strong and hot beneath my hands. My hands explored the planes of her back, the curve of her waist, the powerful muscles in her thighs. This was the trial. This was the only answer. The act was as violent and desperate as the struggle that preceded it. Every thrust was a defiant roar against the sonic agony filling the chamber. We moved together, a frantic, synchronized rhythm born not of passion, but of sheer animalistic will to live. Her legs wrapped around my waist, pulling me deeper. Her head was thrown back, a sharp cry torn from her throat that was lost in the keening of the crystals. I could feel the change as it happened. With every shared gasp, every frantic clutch of hands, the piercing shriek of the crystals began to soften. The light shifted from a harsh, sterile white to a warm, golden glow. The sound lowered in pitch, transforming from a weapon into a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through us, matching the rhythm of our bodies. It was working. The biological union, the harmony. It was real. My mind, which had been screaming in agony moments before, was now filled with something else entirely. Her. I felt her shock, her desperation, the fierce, unyielding pride that was her core, and beneath it, a flicker of fear, a terror of dying here, in this cold, sacred place for nothing. It wasn't just physical anymore. It was a torrent of sensation, of shared emotion pouring between us. I drove into her one last time, my own cry of release swallowed by the chamber's hum. As climax ripped through me, the crystals flared, bathing us in a light so bright it was blinding. The hum peaked, a perfect, harmonious chord that resonated deep in my soul. And then, silence. Complete, utter silence. The light softened to a gentle, pulsing amber. We lay tangled on the floor, our bodies slick with sweat, gasping in the sudden, blissful quiet. My mind was eerily clear. I pushed myself up on my elbows, looking down at her. Her eyes were closed, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Her face, usually a mask of command or contempt, was slack with exhaustion and something else. Awe. As I watched, a faint light bloomed on my chest, right over my heart. It coalesced into a glowing, intricate pattern of lines and swirls, a tattoo of pure energy. It seared my skin with a painless heat before fading, leaving behind a mark like a dark, intricate scar. I looked at Zilia. On her shoulder, nestled in the curve of her neck, was a mark that was almost identical, but older, faded. A bond mark. My eyes shot back to the fresh brand on my own chest. An accidental mating bond. The ritual wasn't just a key to a puzzle, it was a lock, a permanent one. Zilia's eyes fluttered open. They found mine, then flickered down to the new mark on my skin. I saw it then. The same shock that was rocketing through my own system, reflected in her golden gaze. Her POV shifted for a second, a wave of her feelings washing over me through our new, horrifying connection. It is done. The bond is forged. Not by choice, not by love, but by fire and sound. He is mine. I am his. The spirits are sated, but the Cinderlord will not be. She pulled away, scrambling to her feet and gathering the torn remnants of her tunic around her. The warrior mask was back in place, but it was brittle now. It didn't quite hide the tremor in her hands or the terrified confusion in her eyes. The trial was over, but I had a sinking feeling the real trouble had just begun. We were dragged from the chamber of resonance, not as prisoners, but with a strange new reverence from the guards. They wouldn't meet our eyes, their gazes fixed on the new, raw mark on my chest, which was still faintly warm to the touch. They led us back to the main arena, before the blood-red dais where the Cinderlord Kalen still sat, unmoved. The silent crowd watched our approach, a low murmur rippling through them for the first time. Zelia walked with her head held high, a rigid column of defiance. I just felt numb. My shirt was half torn, exposing the damning brand for all to see. Kalen's golden eyes, so like his daughter's, narrowed as we came to a stop before him. His gaze fell upon my chest, and a low growl rumbled deep in his throat. The air grew thick with his rage. "The off-worlder lives," he boomed, his voice echoing through the vast cavern. "And the sacred chamber is silent. Explain this." Outcome. Zelia stepped forward, her voice ringing with newfound steel. "Father, the trial is complete. We demonstrated harmony. The spirits have judged us and found us worthy. The claim is validated." Validated? Kalen rose to his feet, a towering monolith of fury. He pointed a thick, powerful finger at me. "That thing has defiled you. It has tainted our sacred rites with its filthy alien presence. You were meant to be purified by his failure, not bound to it." He spat the word bound like a curse. He'd seen the mark. He knew exactly what it meant. In his eyes, I hadn't just survived. I had stolen his daughter right under his nose, using the very laws he championed. "The bond is sacred law," an old, wizened voice called out from the gallery. An elder, his face a roadmap of ancient lines, had stood up. "The Cinder Lord himself set the trial. The spirits have answered. It is done." Kalen's head snapped toward the elder. "The bond is an abomination. A trick. Forged by a lesser being, a parasite. I declare it void." "You cannot." Zelia's voice cracked like a whip. For the first time, she was not just his daughter. She was his equal, his opponent. She moved to stand slightly in front of me, a protective gesture so instinctual it shocked us both. I could feel her resolve through the bond, a steady, defiant fire. "The spirits have marked him. He is my mate. By the old laws, the laws you taught me to revere above all else, he is mine." The word mine hung in the air, a declaration of war. She wasn't just defending me, she was claiming me, publicly, again. But this time it wasn't an accident. Kalen's face contorted into a mask of pure hatred. This was no longer about a misunderstood compliment or a broken tradition. This was a direct challenge to his authority, from his own blood. "Then you will die with him," he roared. "Guards, seize the alien and the traitor who claims him. Cleanse this court of their stain." The guards, who had been hesitant moments before, now leveled their energy pikes. The crowd erupted into shouts, some supporting the Cinder Lord, others crying out at the sacrilege of defying a spirit-forged bond. The moment of reverent silence was shattered. It was chaos. The guards surged forward. Their hesitation was gone, replaced by the grim certainty of following their lord's command. Zelia didn't flinch. She spun, grabbing a ceremonial spear from a decorative holder on the edge of the dais. "Jax!" she yelled, her voice cutting through the din. To me, something clicked into place. The bond. It wasn't just a brand, it was a link. I knew what she was going to do an instant before she did it. She feinted left, and I was already moving right, my body reacting with a preternatural synergy that we'd forged on the Ashen Bridge. A guard lunged at me, and I dropped, sweeping his legs out from under him. He crashed to the obsidian floor. Zelia used the opening I'd created, the butt of her spear cracking against the side of another guard's helmet with a sickening crunch. We weren't just fighting side by side, we were fighting as one. Her disciplined, powerful strikes created openings for my scrappy, unpredictable brawling. I was used to fighting dirty, to using the environment, to surviving. She was used to formal combat, to overwhelming force. Together, we were a chaotic, deadly storm of motion. "The West Passage," I yelled, spotting a service tunnel I'd clocked when they first dragged me in. It was used by droids, not people. Small, dark, and probably filthy. Perfect. She nodded, not needing any more explanation. We fought our way toward it, a desperate, stumbling retreat. We were hopelessly outnumbered. This wasn't a battle we could win. It was a breakout. The Cinder Lord roared in frustration from his dais, his voice a tidal wave of fury. "Do not let them escape. Seal the passages." A heavy stone grate began to lower over the tunnel entrance. "Shit, we're not gonna make it," I yelled. Zelia didn't answer. She just ran. She threw the spear like a javelin, It soared through the air and slammed into the grinding mechanism for the gate, showering the passage with sparks and broken gears. The grate shuddered to a halt, half closed. There was a gap, maybe 3 feet high. She slid under it without breaking stride. I dove after her, scraping my back on the stone, and rolled to my feet in the darkness of the tunnel beyond. We were through. Behind us, we could hear the enraged shouts of the guards and the booming curses of her father. We ran. The tunnel was tight, slick with some kind of industrial slime, and it stank of ozone and filth. But it was a path to freedom. We ran until our lungs burned and the sounds from the arena faded into a distant echo. The adrenaline was wearing off, replaced by bone-deep exhaustion and the throbbing of a dozen new bruises. We were alive. We were free. For now. But we were also fugitives on a hostile world, hunted by its enraged ruler. And we were inextricably, permanently, tied together. We found refuge in the place they would least expect. My own territory. A small hidden cave system not far from my initial scavenging site, its entrance concealed by a clever projection of solid rock. My ship was gone, impounded no doubt, but my emergency cache was intact. Medkits, ration packs, water purifier, spare power cells, a scavenger's treasure trove. The cave was small, lit by the cold, sterile glow of a single light strip. The silence was absolute, a stark contrast to the chaos of the last few days. Zelia sank onto a storage crate, her proud warrior's posture finally slumping. She stared at her hands, then looked at me, her golden eyes filled with a terrifying mix of defiance and despair. "My father will hunt us to the edge of the galaxy," she said, her voice flat. "He cannot allow the story of his daughter bonding with an alien scavenger to be told. It is the ultimate shame to his line. Yeah, well, he's not the one who's got a magical tramp stamp he can't explain at parties," I muttered, gingerly touching the mark on my chest. It still felt warm. She almost smiled. "A tiny, fleeting thing, but it was there. Is that what your people call it, a tramp stamp?" "It's complicated," I said, deciding not to explain the nuances of early 21st century Terran slang. I opened a medkit and started cleaning a long gash on my forearm. The silence returned, but it was different now. Not tense, just heavy with unspoken realities. I was no longer just Jax, a guy trying to make a living on the fringes. And she was no longer Zelia, the ritual-proud heiress. We were something new, something forged in fire and sound. "What you did back there," I said quietly, gesturing vaguely toward the direction of the arena. "Defying him, claiming me. You didn't have to do that. You could have let him kill me and played the victim." She looked up, her gaze piercing. Through the bond, I felt a flicker of her indignation. "The bond is not a trifle, Jax. It is the highest law." My father spat on it. He spat on the spirits of our world, on our history, all for his own brittle pride. "I did not defend you, I defended the law." "Right," I said, though I felt a warmth spread through my chest that had nothing to do with the bond. "The law." I finished patching my arm and tossed a ration bar to her. She caught it, looking at the alien wrapper with suspicion. "So," I said, leaning back against the cool rock wall, finally meeting her eyes. "What the hell do we do now, partner?" Zelia looked from the ration bar to my face. The fear and confusion in her eyes were still there, but now they were banked by a familiar, dangerous fire. A slow, confident smile, the kind that promised trouble and adventure in equal measure, spread across her lips. "Now, my mate," she corrected, her voice a low, thrilling promise. "We survive, and then we take back what is mine."